back in August, a self-proclaimed sex researcher and sex worker and libertarian named Ayala announced that she was going to host a convention called Slutcon. And they launched a website for it, put tickets up for sale, and the way that they planned this out is they're going to invite a bunch of tech bros who live in San Francisco to this convention so that they can learn the skills of flirting and touching women. And this was the selling point here. Sex is good, and we're here to get good at it. Join us to learn sexual techniques, the psychology of sexual arousal, and the keys to success in forming and keeping healthy sexual relationships. Whether you're a dedicated wife guy, polycule playboy, or lifelong seductress, your personal flavor of shamelessness is welcomed here.
I'm sorry, but Floozy Palooza goes hard as a name.
Floozy Palooza is its other nickname, yeah. Talks from sex therapists and educators, evolutionary psychology professors, orgy organizers, and more. Get embodied through circling, connective dance lessons, and sexy fashion lessons. Learn practical techniques, analyze seduction, and get honest feedback about your sexual prowess. So, needless to say, these tech bros, they have a touch of the TISM. Some of them would be categorized as incels. There were a lot of, virgins in their 40s, but there were also a lot of men with just staggeringly high body counts attending as well.
Now that I think about it, it's another reason why, as the world gets more and more ridiculous, why comedy is so much harder to do. Because back in the early 2000s, when they made the 40-year-old virgin, it was like, ha 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 ha. Now it's like, somebody's like, and I took that personal.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're in tech too?
I look like Steve Carell.
Yeah.
And they have this other page on the website that says, meet the hoes.
Oh, those.
And you can look at all of the speakers that were featured. They've got porn stars, writers, a porn historian.
Oh, wow.
A sex therapist, and as she calls it, orgy-nizer.
So there's just a lot of money to be made and stuff like this. Loneliness and the increasing divide between men and women means that there's a market to fill. On this side of the internet, that's like the manosphere guys who are selling you on, what the failings of women are, or what what's holding men back in society. And as people point out all the time, they may have a couple of good tidbits of advice that are in there about personal responsibility and how to take ownership of your actions, but a lot of times it's couched between what both genders seem to embody now, which is the best way to grow an audience is to blame the other guy or the other girl.
Well, I don't think they're doing it from a standpoint of blaming anybody.
No, I'm saying this is just another offshoot of that, which is that the loneliness that people are feeling means that people are ripe to be manipulated and taken
They're like,
advantage
hey,
of.
incels, everyone hates you, but we don't hate you. Yeah. Give us money. Step 1, shamelessness. There is a footnote here. Unless you find shame hot, in which case, ew, you disgusting, dirty slut. Hey, you there, looking all ashamed about owning those naughty genitals. How about you step over here and release all that genital energy at all of us? What if it's good? What if you like it? What if it's awesome? Join us for a weekend of shameless celebration of being the awesomest little sex freak you can be.
Who is the person? Is the idea here that you're supposed to get people involved that wouldn't normally be there? Because who's the person who's just perusing this and is like, you know what? I'm that person. I didn't realize it, but I'm that person.
We'll get to that in a
who's the
second.
copywriter? Satan?
Whether your slut energy is targeted entirely at your monogamous partner or distributed amongst your extended polycule, your particular expression is welcome here. Sexual desire is a part of life and a part of you, and we hope you can enjoy a place where that part of you is accepted.
Just the other day, Mary, you'll love this. I was watching, I've started rewatching Law & Order Criminal Intent, which is the best Law & Order. Do not at me. And there's this episode, which is based on a true story, about a pharmacist. I know this sounds like I'm doing a non sequitur, but I'll pull it back to Shane. It's about this true story about this pharmacist back in the early 2000s who made a pledge to his local church for $1 million, and he couldn't make the payments to make good on the pledge. So he started watering down medications to like prescriptions for cancer medications so he could make more money to pay off this pledge. And in the show, they interview a pastor who's supposed to be the guy who's like, he's like egging him on with like compliments where he's talking about like, oh, but you're such a great pillar of the community. You're a church elder now, to try and get him to do this. And when they interview him, you can tell that the detective he hates religion. He hates anything to do with this guy who's, for all intents and purposes, isn't a bad person, this pastor. And he basically calls him out for shaming the priest for using shame. And the priest says, shame is an underrated emotion. It's like, it's the last thing that keeps us honest when nobody else will. And the show makes no bones about just laughing at that concept to begin with. And this is back in 2002, like laughing at the idea that shame would be a useful aspect of society.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like a non sequitur, but it ties into what we're talking about here.
There's been a conflation of guilt and shame. Shame can sometimes be an emotion you feel when you haven't done anything wrong. Guilt is when you have done something wrong and you should feel bad. Step 2 here is get good. Sex is a skill like any other. At Slutcon, we aren't satisfied with simply lounging around in bacchanalian decadence. We're here to get down to work, explore the cutting-edge sex science, practice your tongue endurance, take notes at the squirting workshop, actually go flirt with hot people, figure out the mistakes you've been making and what parts of you are surprisingly erotic. You've already got your own sexual charm. We'll help you elevate that to full sex champion. So then you can go through all of these modules that they offer. This reminds me of when Amaranth put on that audition process for her male followers where she was going to train you in RIZZ and like teach you how to dress properly and get a girlfriend. This is like that on steroids. The San Francisco Standard did a write-up on it. With NSFW content and surprisingly wholesome vibes, Slutcon is a 3-day conference where men pay thousands to learn how to not give women the ick, which was appropriately rebutted here. It feels like a really good way to give most women the ick would be to have them find out you attended something called Slutcon.
She's like, look, she's like, trust me, I went to Slutcon. I've got moves.
It's on my LinkedIn.
At the inaugural Slutcon, flirt girls teach tech guys how to woo women. And at various points last weekend, they say 10 different men asked Cassie, a 28-year-old petite brunette wearing a lime green wristband, if they could squeeze her breasts. She rebuffed 3 but gladly consented to 7 of them. This was not harassment, but homework. The men were attendees at Slutcon, a conference held at an undisclosed location in the East Bay, which promised to level up men's seduction skills.
You can smell
Cassie's wristband designated her as an official flirt girl, one of 46 women who men could approach to practice flirting assignments. She said, I've been giving good feedback in teaching men how to touch me. I've also taught a lot of guys how to pull hair. Practical, actionable instruction was the main point of Slutcon, billed as a combo self-help seminar and social experiment. The goal was for anxious, analytical men to improve their skills with the opposite sex. Around 220 people, mostly men, attended, many paying from $1,000 to $9,000 for their tickets, the most expensive of which included access to intimate sessions with women, some nude workshops they mentioned here.
Society is cooked. Dude.
It's over.
And other men got in for free by volunteering to help set up and break down the activities of the conference.
Back in the day
Yikes.
when men had to make it big in the stock market, and it was all cocaine on the sale floor and frat culture. Money and like social aptitude were tied together.
Yeah.
And now social aptitude has no tie to the real world or to money, because money is now inherently in the tech world.
Right.
So somebody very smart a long time ago saw the writing on the wall and was like, you know what? Gone are the days of the rich CEO who knows how to control the flow of a room and tell and kind of command the presence of everyone around him, or the frat guy who buys and sells stock and does a bunch of cocaine. Like, those days are gone. The days of Wolf of Wall Street are gone. The days of Boiler Room, which in my opinion is the preferable movie, are gone. Now you just have what? The Social Network?
Right. You have a
Yeah.
room full of a couple hundred future Sam Altmans, and they say the crowd was diverse, but the majority worked in tech. It included Google engineers, AI safety researchers, and scientists on sabbatical. Rationalist men were there, as were men who had never heard of the Bayes theorem. They were blonde men, bald men, men with comb-overs, virgins and recent divorcees, men who had never kissed a girl, and men who'd been laid off and finally had a chance to be laid on. They flew in from New York, London, and Puerto Rico. Others walked 15 minutes from home. One came to, quote, bootstrap his social life. Another, who called himself a local politico, came to understand why he kept getting fired for being too friendly to women and told, you know what you did. He did not know what he did, and he hoped at Slutcon he might find out. Though the content was often NSFW, the vibe was typical tech conference, with talks spread out across rooms, breakout sessions, slide decks, and seating that ranged from folding chairs to bean bags. Men were wearing name tags and color-coded lanyards that denoted their level of access. They looked eager, awkward, hopeful. Some took copious notes.
The guy didn't have to go to SlutCon. He could have just done like a Reddit, am I the asshole?
Yeah.
The keynote speaker, Ayala, said, we are here to level you up and get you to the sexiest you can be. We are pro-men here. We want baseline empathy for the plight of semen. So basically what they're trying to say is like, look, society hates incels and men in general, but we're hoes and we love men regardless of whether or not they're chads, and we're going to try to teach you how to flirt with women with positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement, the way that maybe an HR executive would.
Lovely.
And she said, you may find out in gruesome detail how much you're giving women the ick. And one of the attendees said, a big takeaway is that I can ask for so much more than I habitually ask for, and it's totally fine. The point of the exercise is flirting doesn't have to be, I've succeeded if I have sex tonight. It can be about enjoying someone's attention and interacting with them. Some of the advice offered during workshops felt surprisingly basic. There was a home design panel to how to make your space more palatable to women. It reminds me of the subreddit, like male living spaces. It's just a folding chair and a TV. And a men's fashion session dispensed zingers like avoid drawstring pants and fit your clothes to your body. They were also giving skincare tips and game theory on relationships.
Of course, like Sun Tzu.
Yeah, trying to give these talks that specifically cater to an audience of nerdy, high IQ men that work in the tech space.
These things used to appear in the back in the classified ads in magazines.
There was so much on the schedule that many attendees were torn between panels and practice time with the flirt girls. Mark, 44, a software engineer, said that he had come to sharpen his RIZZ. He wanted to make sure he was coming across the way he wanted to come across. He pointed to the morning's aggression and intimacy workshop as his favorite, in which men shoved each other to access assertive energy before approaching flirt girls. You want to leverage that feeling and intensity to be more confident. It was playful, not violent, he added. The people all feel like fellow nerd travelers. Yeah, this is just a total grift. I don't think that any of the attendees benefited from being there, because they're interacting with prostitutes who are obviously not representative of the female population. How the hell would they know what women want in the dating world?
That's correct.
They're prostitutes. That's why it's so ridiculous that Ayala has like made a name for herself. You know, she calls herself a survey artist, and she asks these insane questions, and she tries to poll the audience on their views on sex and relationships, not understanding that her following and herself are not representative of the population. And she's also quite a sad case. I think she's talked about being molested as a kid, and she claims that she has no trauma from it because she's an anomaly, and like, you know, she seems to have a touch of autism as well and just doesn't understand human interaction, which makes it all the more ironic that she's hosting a conference to teach socially inept people how to talk to strangers. This is, just a cesspool of STDs.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone who paid to be there got what they were hoping for. And now there are women also hoping that they're going to put on a Slutcon for a female audience next.
For the femcells.
There was one suggestion of workshops to focus on quickly identifying guys you're interested in, direct communication, how to tell guys you like them, don't like them, want more from them or less from them, how to deal with rejection, hearing from guys what they like in flirting, sex, relationships, practice approaching guys, getting into and out of conversations. No one needs this.
I agree.
Like, they say that this is exposure therapy, like this is a boot camp. So that, you know, in the real world you can put these things into practice, but it's not exposure therapy because you're in a bubble with a bunch of other weirdos.
Yeah. I think that's all that needs to be said. It's just weird.
This is why they should take the sexual element out, have Kai Cenat host RIZZ University.
Yeah.
And I think that would actually be more beneficial.
Yes.
You would benefit more from going to Streamer University.
Yeah,
and
like how to RIZZ up the HUZ. I think that'd be useful.
Yeah.
You know?
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.